Okay, so today we're going to go back and practice a little bit of division. It's been a while since we've done that. So we're going to start with single digit division and then we're going to go to double digit division. Okay, so remember to start with just your first number. A lot of people want to just go to the end and see, oh, how big of a number times 6 makes this. One number at a time. So 6 times what gets me close to 8 without going over? Okay, so 6 times 1. 6 times 1 is 6. So I'm going to subtract. 8 minus 6 is 2. Now remember to check, is 2 smaller than 6? Yes. If it's not smaller, that means we made a mistake on our division and we don't want to get to the end and realize that we have it completely off. Okay, so let's bring down our 3. 6 times what gets me close to 23 without going over? Well, 6 times 4 is 24, but that's too big, so I'm going to do 3. 6 times 3 is 18. Okay, I cannot do 3 minus 8, so I'm going to have to borrow. 13 minus 8 is 5, and 1 minus 1 is nothing. So I'm going to check, is 5 smaller than 6? Yes, it is. So I can bring down my 4. 6 times what gets me close to 54 without going over? That would be 9. 6 times 9 is 54. Okay, and I don't have a remainder, so now I'm going to check my work. So in order to check it, I multiply my divisor times my quotient, and I should get my dividend if I did it right. So 139 times 6, 9 times 6 is 54. 6 times 3 is 18, and 18 plus 5 is 23. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 2 more is 8, and my answer is the same as my dividend, so I did this correctly. Okay, now, what if I have so 3 cannot go into 2. How many times will 3 go into 24? Well, let's see, 3 times 8 is 24. 24 minus 24 is 0. So I'm going to bring down my 7. 3 times what gets me close to 7 without going over? Well, that would be 2, and 3 times 2 is 6. 7 minus 6 is 1. Is 1 smaller than 3? Yes, it is. I don't have anything left to bring down, so this is my remainder. And for today's work, I just want you to do it as remainders. We're not going to do decimals or fractions today. Okay. On today's homework, if you have 2 blanks, you'll see a blank and an R and a blank. That means, giving you a hint, you're going to have a remainder. Okay, and so your answer, the 82, would go in the first blank. The 1 would go in the second blank. Okay, now to check it, when I have a remainder, I still multiply my divisor times my quotient. So 82 times 3. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 8 is 24. And then I add my remainder on. So plus 1, 247. That is the same as my dividend, so I did my work correctly. Okay. Now let's take a look. What happens when I have a double-digit divisor? Okay, so let's do 21. Okay, and I'm going to divide 7,486. Okay, so 21 will not go into 7, but it will go into 74. Now, remember, in order to help myself figure out, instead of just guessing random numbers to take 21 times, round this off. I'm going to round this to the nearest 10, so I'm going to round this to 20. So I'm thinking of it like 20. So how many times would 20 go into 74? Well, I know 20 times 3 is 60 and 20 times 4 is 80, and 80 is too big. So I'm going to do times 3. So I'm going to take 21 times 3, and that'll be my starting point. So 1 times 3 is 3, and 3 times 2 is 6. So I'm going to put my 3 up here. I'm going to subtract my 63. 4 minus 3 is 1. 7 minus 6 is 1. Is 11 smaller than 21? Yes, it is. Bring down my 8. So now I need to come up with how many times 21 goes into 118. So remember, we're using that 20 to kind of help us with. So about how many times will 20 go into 118? Well, I know 20 times 5 would be 100, because 2 times 5 is 10, and I put a 0 at the end, so that's 100. 20 times 5 is 100. 20 times 6 would be 120, because 6 times 2 is 12, and I have that 0 to attach to the end. And 120 is too big, so I'm going to go with 5. So I'm going to take 21 times 5. 1 times 5 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. Now just be careful that after you've used this to help you figure out what number to try, you still have to use that 21. Don't take it times 20. A lot of people want to do, oh, I know it's 5, so that's 100. No, you still have to come over here and multiply it times your actual divisor. Okay, so 105. 8 minus 5 is 3. 1 minus 0 is 1. Check. Is 13 smaller than 21? Yes, it is. So I'm going to bring down my 6. So I have 136. So we rounded to 20. So about how many 20s would be in 136? Well, we already said 20 times 6 would be 120. And 20 times 7 will be 140, because 2 times 7 is 14, and then I have the 0 for the end. And 140 is too big. So we're going to try 21. Remember, I got to use that divisor. 21 times 6. 1 times 6 is 6. 2 times 6 is 12. So I'm going to subtract 126. 6 minus 6 is 0. 3 minus 2 is 1. 1 minus 1 is nothing. Check. Is 10 smaller than 21? Yes, it is. Do I have anything left to bring down? No, I do not. So I have a remainder of 10. But now I need to check my work and make sure that I did this correctly. Okay, so I'm going to take 356 times 21. Okay, so 6 times 1 is 6. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 3 is 3. I'm done with that 1, so remember to put down a 0, okay, to hold that 1's place, because now I'm working with my tens, so my first answer has to be in the tens place. 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times 5 is 10, and 1 more is 11. 3 times 2 is 6, and 1 more is 7. So I'm going to add these. And I add, oops, let me move this up here so you can see what I did. And I need to add my remainder onto my answer. So 7,486, and that's what I started with in my dividend, 7,486. So I know this is my correct answer. Okay, message me if you have any questions or need help with anything, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.